Christopher's family prayed every day for his safe return, while law enforcement and many volunteers from all over searched for him day in and day out. Exactly a week later, however, on the 15th of March, every parent's worst fears became their reality when Christopher's little body was found only a few miles from where they lived, in a trash bag on the side of the road. Who could be so cruel to do this to an innocent 6-year-old, and had they acted alone? This is a heartbreaking case of Christopher Barrios Jr. Don't understand how it just shows, like, obviously how this community is, like, how they come together and they help, because they know it's not normal for a little boy to go missing, for a child to go missing, especially for that long. And obviously they have connections. It shows that they, the community know each other, and they know people in the community, and they look out for each other. So it shows what a tight-knit community was. The fact that some evil monster could literally just kill an innocent 6-year-old and, like, leave them in a fucking trash bag on the side of the road, like trash, and have no care in the world, or, not even hiding it, just leaving it right there, miles from where they live. It's just sick. It is just insane. Christopher Michael Barrios Jr. was a 6-year-old boy born on the 2nd of January 2001 to his father Christopher Michael Barrios, who also known as Mike, and his mother Latrina Keith, in the city of Brunswick, Georgia. Born into a large family, Christopher had 6 brothers and 2 sisters, so quite a large family and, like, large support system and networks. Christopher lived with his father Mike, his father's girlfriend Paula Anderson, and his half-younger brother in a trailer. So they lived in a trailer then. I don't know why he didn't live with his mum. Maybe we'll get into that, I don't know. But yeah, he apparently just lived with his dad, so I'm not sure why that is, but anyway. His father's girlfriend Paula Anderson and his half-younger brother in a trailer at 150 Horseshoe Lane in Canal Road Trailer Park. He was a loving, shy boy who was adored by friends and family. Christopher had a fondness for superheroes such as Spider-Man and Batman, so definitely, like, you just have, like, it's a typical, little boy sort of thing. But obviously I love Marvel, anyone can love Marvel, that's not what I'm saying, but you know what I mean. He also loved his bike, video games, and adored a stray cat in his neighbourhood. He had adopted and named Jimmy, so it just shows what kind of character he is. He's caring, he's kind, he's compassionate, and yeah, the fact that he just automatically adopted this, like, stray cat, it pulls your heartstrings. He was cherished, spending time with his family, and was known for his captivating wide smile. Christopher was also described as a good, passionate boy who would always bid his family good night with the words, "Good night, God bless, I love you." Oh god, so cute, I can't. Everyone who met Christopher instantly fell in love with him. Christopher's grandmother, Sue Rodriguez, also lived a few properties down at 120 Horseshoe Lane. Christopher would often visit her trailer after school. However, one day after visiting his grandmother, Christopher Christopher's father initially assumed that Christopher was still at his grandmother's trailer. However, when Sue Rodriguez informed her that Christopher had left the trailer just after 6 p.m, so that gives an hour and 15 minutes, Paula immediately called Mike to inform him of Christopher's disappearance. Mike, overcome with worry, immediately went out to search for him. Finding no trace of his son, Mike called the police at 8:15 p.m. to report Christopher missing. That evening, search teams quickly assembled, combing the area with the aid of search dogs and ATVs. Christopher was last seen wearing a blue-green pullover sweater, black pants and white Reebok tennis shoes. Despite their exhaustive efforts, the search parties returned home without any sign of Christopher, planning to resume the search the following morning. The search for Christopher intensified the following day, with more than 300 volunteers joining law enforcement efforts. The search team employed heat-sensing aircraft, helicopters and cadaver dogs in a desperate bid to find the missing boy. As the community rallied together, posters and flyers were distributed widely and t-shirts printed with Christopher's face worn by searchers to help jog the memory of potential witnesses. In an effort to encourage tips, the police offered a reward of $31,000 for information leading to Christopher's safe return, but despite these extensive efforts, there was no trace of him. Amidst speculation that Christopher might have run away, his father, Mike Barrios, was adamant that his son would never do such a thing. Heartbroken, he made a public plea saying, "Anyone who has my son, I want them to know I love my son, I miss him and I want him to come home." In a further effort to locate Christopher, authorities issued a Levi's call, the state's equivalent of an Amber Alert. This was done despite the uncertainty surrounding whether Christopher had been abducted. A Levi's call is the program designed to get the word out to the public via radio and television within minutes of a confirmed abduction. Its goal is simple: to locate a child. During the investigation into Christopher's disappearance, detectives interviewed several registered sex offenders in the area, including Christopher's father, Mike, and a neighbour, George Edenfield, who lived just a few trailers down. Mike Barrios, who had a past conviction for statutory rape in April 1997, was quickly ruled out as a suspect in his son's disappearance. However, the focus shifted dramatically when detectives interviewed George Edenfield, a 32-year-old residing across the street from Christopher's grandmother's trailer. In a chilling turn, investigators discovered Christopher's Star Wars lightsaber in the Edenfield's yard, marking a significant breakthrough. George confessed to detectives that he had watched Christopher walk home from school around 2:45 p.m. on the day of his disappearance. He shockingly claimed to have murdered Christopher, stating that he was compelled by the devil. Despite his confession, George refused to disclose the location of Christopher's body, fearing that revealing this information would guarantee his imprisonment. It would guarantee your imprisonment, because what the fuck do you expect to just get on with this? You murdered an innocent child. Like, I don't give a fuck whether you were, possessed by the contact with Christopher on the day of his disappearance, George was taken into custody. As the case unfolded, the pressing questions remained. Who exactly was George Edenfield? Could he truly be responsible for Christopher's disappearance? And most importantly, where was Christopher Barrios Jr.? George Edenfield, a 32-year-old resident of the Canal Road trailer park, carried a troubling past. In 1997, at the age of 22, he was convicted of molesting a 7-year-old boy, and a 9-year-old boy lived near him. And let me guess, right? He didn't really get much of a conviction. Because he's out again. After doing this twice. Following his conviction, he was sentenced to 10 years on probation and required to register as a sex offender, during which time he resided with his parents. So basically, he was let out on probation, so he hardly did even have to so many times. In 2006, nearly a decade after his conviction, the state of Georgia enacted stricter laws aimed at preventing child molesters from exploiting children in public spaces. Specifically, the new legislation prohibited child molesters from living within 1,000 feet of schools and playgrounds. Yeah, they failed then. They failed, didn't they? Because this is exactly where that is, a playground and a school. So they failed massively, is an understatement. They failed. Consequently, in August 2006, sheriff's deputies informed George that he was in violation of these laws due to his residence proximity to a playground near downtown Brunswick. After failing to relocate as initially ordered, George was arrested for violating his probation in September of 2006. A month later, he and his family moved to the Canal Road trailer park on Horseshoe Lane, where Christopher also lived a few trailers down. George's failure to comply with the relocation order promptly brought him before Glynn County Superior Court Judge Stephen Scarlett on the 5th of March 2007, just 3 days before Christopher Barrios Jr.'s disappearance. George pleaded guilty to these charges, and the judge sentenced him to an additional 10 years of probation. Despite the gravity of his probation violation, George was released and permitted to return home. Oh god, this makes me angry. It's like, how many times this guy broke the law and he's still allowed out and back at home, that place where he shouldn't even be? However, George Edenfield was not the only member of his family with a troubled history of sexual misconduct. Great, so there's a family of them. It emerged that his father, David Edenfield, had been convicted for incest with his daughter in 1993 and was also sentenced to 10 years probation. So none of the family basically got hardly anything, you know. Oh yeah, it's fine for the Edenfield family to let them go. It's fine. It's fine. They can do whatever they like. Like seriously. causing her son and husband choke Christopher to death. Following this, Peggy admitted to helping clean the boy's body of any fingerprints and DNA evidence, then wrapping it in plastic trash bags. As a result of these revelations, Peggy Edenfield was arrested on the 14th of March 2007 and charged with giving false statements, obstruction of an officer, and concealing the death of another person. David and George were also arrested on the 15th of March 2007 on similar charges. Additionally, family friend Donald Dale was arrested and charged. Christopher's grandmother, Sue Rodriguez, expressed her grief upon hearing about their arrests. She tearfully recounted how she'd always told Christopher to avoid the Edenfields after discovering George's name on George's online sex offender registry. She said, "I told him, Christopher, they're not nice people. Stay away from them." After the arrest of the Edenfields, police conducted a thorough search for Christopher's body at the site indicated by David Edenfield and Donald Dale. Despite the use of helicopters and ground searches with cadaver dogs, the efforts were initially unsuccessful due to misleading information, and the search was eventually suspended. However, the search took a heartbreaking turn on the 15th of March 2007 as volunteers scoured the area along Canal Road. Two officers from the Georgia Department of Natural Resources, Wildlife and Game Division, patrolling on an ATV, noticed tire tracks veering off the road. Following the tracks out of curiosity, they came upon a black trash bag in a field near Brunswick Golden Isles Airport, about 3 miles from the Canal Road trailer park where Christopher lived. Surrounded by a swarm of flies, the bag at first seemed to be ordinary trash, but a closer look revealed a devastating reality. Inside was the decomposing body of a young boy. The authorities were immediately notified and the site was closed off. Forensic experts confirmed the identity of the body as Christopher Barrios Jr., with information also provided by Christopher's father, Mike Barrios. The autopsy concluded that Christopher died from asphyxiation and had suffered injuries consistent with sexual abuse, bringing to light the horrific circumstances surrounding his death. Speaking on the tragedy of the event, Glynn County Police Chief Matt Doring, who escorted his father to the scene to the body, said, "That was the hardest part when it's your only son that has been killed and you want to go look for the last time. That's tough." Another searcher, Mary Charnock, also added that they had suspected all along that Christopher was dead, but never wanted it to be true. She said, "You suspected all along in your heart. It's just not the outcome you want. At least we know, though. At least it's over." Donald Dale was a former neighbour of the Edenfields when they resided in downtown Brunswick. He and the Edenfield family bonded over their mutual interest in video games. On the evening of the 8th of March 2007, approximately 2 hours after Christopher was last seen, the Edenfields invited Dale to their home under the pretense of a video gaming session. On the 26th of June 2008, more than a year after the tragic events, the prosecution dropped the charges of concealing the death. Why? Because they did. Why are they dropping it? I don't understand. Like, please don't say they're gonna get away with this again, because I can't. They've already got away with so much shit. Tampering with evidence and felony obstruction in connection with Christopher's murder. In return, Dale entered a guilty plea Dale's attorney, John Wetzler, said Donnie was in the worst place at the absolutely worst time, and he trusted the wrong people. Wetzler portrayed Dale as mentally challenged, naive and easily influenced. He contended that Dale's inconsistent statements were due to confusion and a lack of understanding. During police questioning, he said, "I don't think he understood my questions, much less the questions being asked by the police. I think the only reason they arrested him was he gave inconsistent statements to them, but that was because he was confused and didn't really understand what they were asking." Tim Frayne, Donald Dale's landlord, provided critical testimony during the trial, asserting that Dale was with him from 9 a.m. until about 8:45 p.m. on the 8th of March 2007. This timeline suggested that Dale could not have been present at the Edenfield home before Christopher was killed. Based on Frayne's testimony and the broader circumstance of the case, the court ultimately decided Dale's sentence, recognising his mental disabilities and his low IQ of 60. Donald Dale was remanded to a psychiatric facility for 5 years, followed by probation. The trial of 61-year-old David Homer Edenfield began on the 29th of September 2009, with him facing charges of sexual molestation and the murder of Christopher Barrios Jr. In a bid to avoid a death sentence, Peggy Edenfield agreed to testify against her husband, providing critical evidence to the prosecution. Armed with videotaped confessions, prosecutor John B. Johnson detailed to the jurors how David, along with George and Peggy Edenfield, had cunningly lured Christopher into their trailer located just across from his grandmother's trailer before committing the heinous acts and ultimately strangling him. During the trial, the prosecutor painted a vivid picture of the day Christopher disappeared. Paula, the girlfriend of Mike Barrios, testified that she'd walked Christopher home from the bus stop on that fateful day. This information was supported by George Edenfield's admission to the police that he had seen Christopher returning home from school around 2:45 p.m. It had also revealed that Christopher had been actively moving between his home and his grandmother's, fetching action figures and playing with a Star Wars toy lightsaber his father had recently purchased for him. Shortly after, Christopher was seen heading towards a swing near his grandmother's trailer, sitting on the swing set and playing with his lightsaber. After spending several hours playing, around 6:15 p.m., Christopher decided it was time to head home. He skipped along his usual route towards his grandmother's trailer, which often involved passing through the canal trailer belonging to the Edenfields. However, on passing through, he was accosted by George Edenfield, who lured him into the trailer. Mike Barrios, Christopher's father, testified that he received a call from his girlfriend at around 7:15 p.m, informing him of Christopher's disappearance. He then searched the trailer at the Canal Road Trailer Park before reporting Christopher missing just after 8 p.m. Jurors were shown the first hour of the interview David Edenfield gave to a police detective a day after Christopher's body was found, initially blaming his son George and denying any involvement before slowly beginning to describe the horrible scene of killing Christopher. According to David, he and his wife walked into the room where they found their son forcing Christopher to have sex with him. In the video, David Edenfield described George Edenfield as mentally challenged, blaming the murder alone on him before changing his insane. He said, I'm going to tell my daddy and my grandma, and George choked him, denying culpability at first. He said he told his son to stop choking Christopher, then changed his story again, saying he had placed his own hands on top of his son's while they strangled Christopher together. He said Christopher was crying, not screaming, just kind of scared. He was saying, no, stop, while George put his hands around his throat and choked him. I guess it was just instinct. I just wanted to see what it felt like to choke somebody. What the I'm sorry, but why? It is absolutely terrifying that these thoughts go through people's heads, and then people actually act on them, and it's like, it's one thing to think about, but to act on something like that. After Christopher was dead, David said he and George and Peggy Edenfield sexually gratified themselves. Christopher was dead. I guess it excited all of us. Like getting off on killing a little innocent boy for their sexual gratification. Sorry, if they're into incest, whatever, that's their problem. That's up to them what they do in their own house. But when you're literally involving an innocent boy for forcing him into this, to your weird. The three then called the family friend Donald Dale, seeking help to dispose of his body in a black trash bag 3 miles away from their home. Continuing with the presentation of evidence, the prosecution played a videotape where David Edenfield admitted to disposing of Christopher's body on the same day he went missing, utilising a truck provided by Donald Dale rather than his own car. Testimony from law enforcement officers revealed that a woman named Ruth Daniels and her daughter informed them during an interview that Donald Dale had borrowed Ruth's pickup truck around 9 p.m. after receiving a call from David Edenfield by 8:40 p.m. During the trial, jurors were presented with critical medical evidence she was sentenced to 60 years in prison. Following the trial and sentencing of Peggy Edenfield, Christopher's father, Mike Barrios, and his grandmother were happy with the sentencing. Speaking of Peggy's sentencing, Mike said it's good to see that she would die in prison, but she deserves worth nothing. We'll bring Christopher back. And ain't that the truth? His grandmother, Sue Rodriguez, said, I feel like Christopher got some justice today. She's gone for good now. She won't ever get out to do this to someone else's innocent baby. David Edenfield, who was initially sentenced to death in 2014, has made several attempts to challenge his sentence. I can't. In 2018, he sought a right of habeas corpus, arguing that his death penalty sentence should be overturned due to intellectual disability and ineffective legal representation. In 2022, David petitioned to overturn his sentence on the grounds of ineffective legal counsel, leading a Butts County court to vacate his death sentence, and this decision temporarily lifted the death penalty. However, in 2023, the Supreme Court reinstated his death sentence after reviewing the case, and David Edenfield now awaits execution on death row at the Diagnostic State Prison. A local official familiar with George Edenfield's case asked for a strict form of probation, but a state official persuaded the court that it was unnecessary. Apparently, during the 10 years of George's probation since 1997, no one had come forward with a criminal complaint against him. Oh wow, okay. Sue Rodriguez, Christopher's grandmother, said, if the judge would have kept him in jail, our baby would be here. He wouldn't have been in heaven with our God. Like, if the courts and the police the justice system did their job and arrested him when he literally do other children, this case wouldn't, I wouldn't even be telling you about this case right now. It wouldn't have happened. This lovely, innocent young boy would have been alive. Christopher's mother, Latrina Keith, filed a wrongful death lawsuit in state court in Clinton County against the owner of the trailer park where Christopher lived. In the lawsuit, Latrina Keith claimed that the trailer park owner, Sharon O'Quinn of Brunswick, knew that it was a dangerous place for children because she knowingly rented the trailer lots to convicted child molesters. Latrina Keith also claimed that Sharon O'Quinn had received numerous complaints about George Edenfield from other residents in the trailer park, and that she should have known that he posed a danger to Christopher. Latrina Keith also sued a caseworker at the Georgia Department of Children and Family Services for acting in a gross and negligent manner. She alleged that the social worker failed to protect Christopher by placing him in the custody of his father, Mike, a convicted sex offender. She requested a trial by jury and a judgment against Sharon Quinn and the caseworker for the full value of the life of Christopher Barrios, as well as funeral costs, but I cannot find information anywhere on the outcome of this lawsuit. Overall, this case is completely heartbreaking, and it was such a difficult one to cover. It truly is a stark and devastating reminder of the depths of cruelty that can exist in the world. Christopher, a young boy full of life and potential, was subjected to unimaginable horrors by individuals who can only be described as monsters. The terror and pain he must have endured in his final moments are beyond comprehension and something I don't want to even imagine. These three evil monsters deserve to be behind bars for the rest of their lives. Once their incarceration is a necessary step towards justice, it still does very little to mend the broken hearts of Christopher's family or restore the innocent lost that fateful day. My heart goes out to Christopher's family and to everyone impacted,